Hello, my friends, and welcome to the Experience of the Soul podcast. My name is Cynthia Alice Anderson. I'm the host. I'm here today in the studio and so happy to have you along the journey with us. I have to say, I woke up with a great energy. I don't know why, my friends, but somehow having beautiful food and a good night's sleep and good coffee makes me a happier human. So happy to have you along the journey with us. I'm feeling light and free and easy today and have a lot of good energy to share. Also happy to welcome in my producer, Mr. Sean Kilgore.
Thank you so much. So happy to be here. I agree with the good coffee is a good way to start and have a good morning. So
I was just going to say I made homemade biscuits last night, and then I got to have leftovers this morning with my coffee and eggs. Woo!
Yeah, I mentioned we had company this morning that was getting ready to leave, so we did a pancake breakfast with bacon, and did a nice.
Life is good. Life is
big
good.
time, big time.
All of our listeners are going to be saying, "You're killing me. We're hungry.
Right? I'm starving. I want pancakes." All right. Welcome back, friends, to Experience of the Soul. Before we jump in, it's time once again for This Week for the Soul, where our theme is Look Again. Sometimes the most meaningful discoveries aren't the loudest discoveries. They're often found in small acts of generosity, quiet moments of wonder, and even places that we might have overlooked before. So we begin today with National Nonprofit Day. This is a day set aside to recognize the organizations and the people behind them who quietly make our communities stronger every single day. Whether it's feeding families, big time, mentoring children, rescuing animals, supporting the arts, or simply showing up for someone in need, nonprofits remind us that lasting change often begins with ordinary people choosing to do extraordinary things, choosing to care. Sometimes making a difference doesn't require changing the whole world. Sometimes it only means changing someone's world.
Isn't that the truth? I'm reminded again of our friend who was on the show, Lorna Owens, and, she was recently at Unity of Daytona Beach, and all she's been able to accomplish as one person and calling other people to her vision and mission for her life is really, really inspiring. And if you haven't heard that episode, go back and, get that one. But this is always important for us to remember, Sean, because I think in today's world, so many of us feel apathy, and boy, we forget how much power we do have, to make a difference.
Yeah. And friends, that episode is called The Power of One. So if you want to go back and find that episode, and I'll link to it in the show notes as well. Mm-hmm. All right. This week, we are continuing to look up. If you missed last week's peak of the Perseid meteor shower, don't worry. The shower remains active this week through August 24th. And while you won't see peak numbers this week, remember we talked about that last week.
Meteor. I gotta write that down.
You're still going to be able to catch a few bright meteors on a clear, dark night this week. So this reminds us that the show doesn't end just because we missed its biggest moment. Sometimes life does give us another chance.
I love that.
Isn't that great?
That's sweet. That touched my heart. It brought a little misty-eyed.
Thanks. All right. Today is also Black Cat Appreciation Day, not to be confused with National Black Cat Day, which is in October. Yes, black cats get 2 days.
Of course.
Right. So for centuries, black cats have been surrounded by myths and superstition. And today, animal shelters still say that they're amongst the hardest cats to adopt out because of that. So I thought this was just kind of a little sweet reminder that appearances and our assumptions don't always tell the whole story. Sometimes the things we overlook are just sitting there quietly waiting to surprise us, like a sweet little black kitty.
Oh, yes. I've had one, too, and they are sweet. My sister had one, too.
Yeah. Nice. Our Just for Fun this week is one I could not resist. Today is National Number 2 Pencil Day. So the humble pencil has written best-selling novels, solved impossible math problems, sketched great works of art, and probably helped all of us through a few standardized tests. This is one of the few inventions that's designed with the expectation that you'll probably get something wrong, and that's okay.
Yeah, right? I have a favorite pencil brand, Sean.
Do you? What is it?
Is it just a number 2 or is it just pencils in general?
It's just number 2 pencil day. Yeah.
Yeah. Blackwing. Highly recommend.
Oh, nice.
Very, very expensive, but
And
you
that
can get
eraser is it flat?
I tell you what's cool about the eraser. Look at that. You can take it out, and if you erase a lot, you can move it up. Look at that.
Oh, that is cool. Yep.
You can replace it, and they have different leads. So the white is the thinnest, then there's silver, and then there's black. So this is almost like a drafting pencil. It's very, very dark lead. Love my pencils.
Very nice.
They even have
That's
a special
awesome.
sharpener.
Oh yeah, awesome. I do like a good mechanical pencil. You know, a little one that's a little more heavy duty, and you got. Oh, yep, exactly. Yep, totally, exactly like that. Yeah, awesome. So your journal prompt for this week, friends. Speaking of pencils, if you write in your journal with pencil, right? This week's journal prompt is: what am I ready to begin again? What am I ready to begin again? Sometimes the next chapter begins with the simple decision to start. Friends, whatever this week holds for you, I hope you'll make room for a little compassion, a little curiosity, and the willingness to see value in places that you might have passed by before. And now let's jump into today's conversation, episode 426 of Experience of the Soul, where we are continuing to answer the 5 questions everyone asks about past lives. I thought maybe we could begin with a little recap of what you talked about last week, which were the 2 first questions. Are past lives real? And how do I know if I've lived before?
Yeah, great idea. And I thank you for all that, Sean. Sean does a great job on that first segment. Sorry if I was interrupting you too much. I guess I might be over caffeinated. But my friends, it's fun to have you along the journey with us, especially on this, Sean. I've had a really good time thinking about this. And I think it's so interesting. I haven't done very many shows about it because of the interest level. That said, I've been a little slow to speak on it publicly because I think people just don't understand the implications and the potential for healing. I think in today's world, the reaction, and we were talking about this beforehand, that the reaction to sound bites can be so overreactive without understanding the context behind what it is I'm saying. And so even though I've done courses on this, and I certainly help people with this all the time, one-on-one, the idea of past lives is not new. As a matter of fact, it's a very ancient teaching. It even predates Jesus. And so people often ask, are past lives real? Why would I need to know? Is it in the Bible? And so I want to be about answering those questions. I do have several scriptures I'm going to share with you today because I want you to know my perspective. And having said all of this, I am absolutely fine if you disagree with me. That's absolutely fine. What I will tell you is I've had wonderful teachers. I have studied world religions. I have done extensive research on this topic. I've had clients, and I've had my own past life memories, as I shared last time, which was also a lot of fun because I've never shared any of that in public, and I found it very freeing to do so. So I'm enjoying these questions, and the first question we looked at last week was, are past lives real? So, of course, my friends, you can clearly hear that I'm saying, yes, in fact, they are. Are past lives real? The short answer is yes. The short answer is yes. The oldest religions in the world have taught past lives. Hinduism, Buddhism, Tibetan Buddhism, all of these teachings that predate Christianity taught this idea. And the idea was that our actions, which the word karma simply means actions. So you'll hear a lot of people talk about your karma these days, that our actions set up for us, not only what will come to us this life, but in fact, in our next life. So that if Sean and I knew each other in a past life, and let's say I was not very nice to Sean in that life, maybe I was a jerk to Sean, and this life, I have an opportunity to redo that. And I often say to Sean, you can do no wrong in my eyes. I love you. And that it would be a healing of the past karma. So, one of my teachers said, all you're ever going to do is redo family and redo past lives, because what we're trying to do is learn how to heal through these relationships. And that made a lot of sense to me. Doesn't that make sense, Sean?
Absolutely. Yep.
That because we know in this life, however we were raised is what creates the personality. And we know as we age, certain aspects of those personality traits don't work as adults. Throwing a temper tantrum, give that a try as an adult and see how well that works for you. Right. And we know, in fact, it doesn't. And so even from the past lives, we're bringing that in and through. And I'm going to talk today a little bit more even about the family you're born into. But I want you to think about that. So as a soul, what we talked about is, there are immature souls and there are what you've heard referred to as old souls. Like, Sean, I'm sure you've heard this. Like when a child is very wise, what do people say? Oh, he's a what?
Old soul. Yeah.
That's right. He's an old soul. So what do you think that means? So I've heard Christians and non-Christians alike say this. It's because it's been in the cultural understanding in some form, even though it's not conscious, that in fact souls are reborn again and again. And so, if this is not a fit for you, my friends, don't worry about it. Listen to the next show. But what I know is that, like when we see, the classic young soul, which is the type of person that says the one with the most toys wins. This is classic young soul behavior. An old soul knows what? Well, it's not about the stuff. It's about who you love, how you love, taking responsibility for your actions, loving God, serving humanity. We know that. And what listens to this show are typically old souls, right? In other words, we've been here before. We're not scared of going to hell. We've been there and don't want to go back. And we are healing and on the healing journey, and we're seeking to be a blessing. So are past lives real? Yes. How do I know if I've lived before? Well, you're in a body. And, I would say in the world today, what we're seeing being lived out on the national and even international world stage are karmic plays of good and evil. Karmic plays of good and evil. I do to you, you do to me. I do to you, you do to me. This is what we see, and we see how well it's going. So, karmically, nationally, and even internationally, we're living in this, what's called the wheel of karma. You do bad to me, I do bad to you. You do bad to me, I do worse to you. You do worse to me. And then now we're talking about nuclear weapons. The fact that nobody seems to understand on the international stage that is the annihilation of of humanity as we know it, yeah. Right, is like pretty frightening. It's like, okay, so the reason we talk about past lives is that past lives influence, not dictate. Past lives influence our life now. And so the question today that we want to start with, number 3, Sean, give us that number 3 question. Hopefully that's enough intro to go into the question.
And friends, if you missed last week's episode, certainly you can go back and we dive pretty deep into those 2 questions.
Yeah.
So moving on for this week, then our next question is, can our dreams be memories of our past lives?
Yes. So sometimes dreams can be recurring. I had a dream as a child that was recurring that I found out, 30 years later was probably a past life. I've had many clients and people in my courses who come to me for help and support, and a dream is giving them an indicator of something they went through, and then the energy is carrying forward in this life. But when you dream about something, the good news is that it means It's coming from the unconscious, which is what the dream world is, into the conscious, meaning you're ready on some level to deal with it, because it psychologically, we would say in Jungian psychology, it is coming to consciousness. In other words, when we sleep, we're in the unconscious realm. And when things come through the dream state, people I know on a very deep healing journey work with their dreams. And this is exactly what I do. When I wake up or I have a dream, I actually record it into my phone. I then later write it down, and then I take it to my dream analyst and work the dream to see, is there some aspect of my healing journey that needs to come forward that I'm not seeing on the conscious level. And so through dreams, it can be what are called psychological complexes that are from other lives. It can be from this life where there's things to heal. And so recurring dreams, vivid recurring dreams, definitely can be what I call past life bleed throughs or memories of past lives. Sometimes they are, they're always symbolic, because the dream state works in symbol, not in language. And there's been extensive research. Carl Jung, basically the master of dream translation. So Jung worked with Freud, and Freud and Jung had a split because Jung believed in the soul. And, Freud was like, everything's about sex. And Jung was like, no. So they had a split. Jung was about the soul, and Jung taught to do what we now call dream translation. And Jung traveled all over the world to, parts of Africa where he worked with tribes. And the symbols and the dreams that some of the tribal people have were the same as people in America, were the same as people in Zurich, Switzerland. And what he discovered is that the dream world works in symbol, works in signs, not in language. And so people far removed from Western society and people in Western society were literally dreaming some of the same collective images. So not only do the symbols come through our dreams, they actually come sometimes not only for us, but for the collective consciousness. Sometimes spirit works in such a way that all of consciousness is trying to rise, and it comes in and through our very own dream state. I know, for instance, let me give you a modern day, for instance. I had a client. I know probably 5 people who pre-dreamed the 9/11 bombing. There were drawings, there were dreams, there were pictures, there were sessions about the 9/11 bombing. So somehow collectively, energy was coming in and through. This is how spirit works. This is how the soul works. Now, when the people were getting these dreams, they didn't know what they were until later, because of 9/11 happening. But what I'm telling you is, we think the world is what we can see and touch. In other words, the physical. But in truth, spirit, consciousness, soul comes in and through in a myriad of ways. And time, as we think of it, is really not linear. And so as we dream, past lives definitely can come in and through. Sometimes we are getting messages for the collective. Sometimes we're getting messages for ourselves. But ultimately, it is all for the healing of our consciousness. And that's why it's coming through the dreams. I was in a course with the Assisi Institute to become what's called a dream pattern analyst, to study these signs and symbols. And this is written about extensively. I didn't make this up. This isn't new to me. This is a deep study that I would not even imagine trying to do in a 30-minute podcast. Although we will be bringing on, Sean, our friend Muriel McMahon, who does this type of deep work, later this year. So anyway, my friends, discerning what is coming through the dream state, you really need a trained professional to help you, because it is very, very difficult to discern your own dreams. Even in the Bible, there are stories of dreams. I don't know, Sean, if you grew up in church where we talked about Joseph having the dreams and being with Pharaoh, and how he had those prophetic dreams long before, right, ever being there. So the Bible is full of these types of awarenesses. So you say, well, I thought we were talking about past lives. It's all connected, because it all comes through spirit, and it all comes through the unconscious state. So our dreams are very, very spiritual. They deserve our attention. They deserve our focus. And as we have recurring dreams, it is very, very important to see and to seek understanding and illumination about, why is this dream coming to me now? And so what I know about the dream state is that if it's coming forward now, there is a message for you. It's like our soul is so smart that it is connected to eternity. And as we're ready on a deep soul level to look at something, sometimes it's an unconscious fear. Sometimes it's something that happened previously that we're ready to look at and do some healing work around. If it's coming through the dream state, it means it is ready for you to look at it. And I do realize this might be new information for people. So I'm going to give you a little pause as I take a sip of tea to kind of ingest some of that. I said a lot.
Yeah, it's incredibly fascinating and powerful stuff to think that, we could be learning about who we were before, while we're sleeping, and not even really realize it or know it. There's a, the movie Defending Your Life.
Oh, one of my favorite movies of all time.
Yeah,
Mel
me
Brooks.
Too. Yeah, I love it.
Mel Brooks and
Albert Brooks.
Albert Brooks and Meryl Streep.
Meryl Streep, yeah. And how they go to the past lives pavilion. Like that's one of the fun things that they get to do is like go to the past lives pavilion and like I can actually see themselves in the previous life. But
I love how Shirley MacLaine does the introduction there. Do you remember that?
Yes.
So
totally.
Shirley MacLaine, talked a lot about it, and that would be a great movie to watch if you are interested in doing kind of some fun exploration about past lives. Defending Your Life is a great movie. Yeah, about that.
Yeah, very much so. All right. Ready for the next question?
Let's go number 4. I take forever on these.
Okay, number 4. All right. Our fears, phobias, or emotional patterns be a result of our past lives?
Oh, yeah. So I wanted to talk about this. So one way to discern if a fear is from a past life is if nothing happened this life and you have an irrational fear of it. We often talk about when we react, we're reacting from that we call it the reptilian brain, the amygdala. So if you have a fear about something that you have zero experience this lifetime with, like I gave my example last week of my friend with the horses, that is a very good indicator that something happened in a past life. I was working with somebody once with very deep anxiety, and they had really hit something that I knew was beyond my scope to help them with. And I sent them to somebody to do a regression into a past life. And what happened in this past life, they, were just kind of going down the road in like a wagon. And all of a sudden, like the road was out and they fell off a cliff and died. And so they were walking through life feeling like at any moment something bad was going to happen. And so as they were able to go into that life to regress back and see what happened and do healing work and able to love themselves and guide themselves, into the light, that during this lifetime, the anxiety basically went away. I mean, it was really uncanny how much was healed and then released so that then they could walk through this life nearly anxiety free.
Wow.
And they had debilitating anxiety. Like, I don't want to leave the house. I don't want to go anywhere. I don't want to say anything. It was really something. So when people say, well, I got enough to worry about this life, I don't want to know about past lives, I'm saying problems you have this life are most likely connected to a past life, and that if you knew it, it might help you heal and release the hurt so you can move into more good. And so definitely irrational fears, anxiety that you can't name, that you can't relate to a specific feeling, is often related to a past life. And I would say, very importantly, recurring relational patterns. So this is where I want to pause a little bit and talk about how past lives relate to the family you're born in. So I firmly believe that when we die, that we do what's called a life review. I believe angels are there. I believe healers are there. I believe Jesus is there. I believe God is there. I believe we are blessed. We are supported. But I also believe we have the opportunity to review our lives and see the mistakes we made, and that we work with spirit on when we're ready to come back into life again and are able to live this life again. And in so doing, when we are reborn into this life, just like we carry our family's DNA, which we all do, hair color, features, all of these types of things, I believe we carry in our soul's DNA, I believe we carry the memory of these past lives. And the family that we are born into is the family we need this lifetime to heal and to transform and to get a second chance, a second look at mistakes we made before that now we have the opportunity to heal. Because I have people tell me all the time, I have no idea why I was born into this family. I am nothing like these people. I said, well, let's investigate that. Let's investigate that. And what we start to uncover over time is that the very thing that seems hard in the family is the very thing that helps this individual grow and expand on their soul journey. So, but they're not just experiencing what they have experienced this life, they're bringing issues in from past lives. And I'm going to give you an example of one of the scriptures. Let me think about which one that is. There's 2 verses in John. I'll just give them to you. It's John 9:1-2, and John 1:19 through 23. But here's an example of how I believe in the Bible it refers to a past life, but you have to know how to read it. Listen to this. As he walked along, he saw a man blind from birth. His disciples asked him, so this is the disciples asking Jesus, Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind? Okay, so you have to read that real slow to understand what I'm saying. If he was born this way, they're saying, what did he do before that made him blind now? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. And in this case, Jesus says, neither is this man nor his parents sinned. He was born blind so that God's works might be revealed in him. But they were asking what I would call a question about this man's karma. And it says many times in the Bible that the sins of the father are visited, on the children. And so this is what I was talking about our relational and spiritual DNA. We do and know and carry in ourselves and in our memory what's been done before. It's literally passed through the DNA. And I believe in the next 20 years, science is going to prove this. I absolutely believe that. Science is already proving so much of what we teach and believe about our oneness and everything else. So my point in this is saying that we bring this memory in and through, and as we do, rather than feeling like a victim to it, which is what a lot of people end up feeling like, we're not victims. What we understand is that this is our grand opportunity to heal this issue and move forward on the spiritual journey. So my friends, if you're dealing with fear, anxiety, worries, that you can't relate to something that's happening right now, you might need a session or two to begin to unwind where that comes from. I mean, this is the work I do with people. And by the way, I am trained in regression now, past life regression. So, and if I'm not the right person, I will get you to the right person to help you, because I do know some people to help you, but I just don't want to give this online, because I would want a one-on-one first to make sure I would get you to the right person. I would need to know, what's going on and what the situation is. But I can help you identify recurring emotional patterns. I can help you identify what I call past life bleed throughs that are influencing some of your decisions now. And I want to give you another example before we end today. So let's say something happens, you're in a disagreement. It could be a coworker. Let's say you're in a disagreement with a coworker and your reaction is so big, and you say to yourself, why is my reaction so big? I don't understand what this is. That is a very good indicator that there's some hidden karma that you don't know about with this individual. And rather than pushing through and forcing a solution, the work is to step back, as Sean always talks about, do a little journaling, see if you can observe yourself in this. And if you can't do this on your own, this is when you ask for a session and you honor yourself enough to do a session about this, so you can work through, why is this coming up at this time and what are you being asked to heal? But when you have an overly emotional reaction to a small situation, that is an indicator of past karma that is influencing you in this a day and time. And I know I've said a lot today. And what I want you to know, my friends, is that these are soul lessons. They are opportunities for healing, but it is up to us to then work it to where we can get the healing. Saying to somebody, as we talked about a few weeks ago, saying to somebody, oh, that's my karma, I just have to deal with this, they're mean to me or whatever. No, we heal past that. And so we don't let it get to us, because we understand this reaction is not from this time. It is not from this life. I am more than my reaction. And we see, was there a feeling of a betrayal? Was there a feeling of guilt? Was there a feeling of, they're trying to hurt me? Well, then we investigate, what is the feeling behind, this interaction? And that is where the stronger indicators are about the healing work that needs to be done. So I hope this is helping you think about it. And next week we will talk about past regression or past life regression, and then moving into a deeper healing. So my friends, anything else so you wanted to say, Sean, before we sign off today?
No. Yeah, I think that was great. I love moving that final question to the next episode. I think that's great.
Yeah. Well, we've got so much today. And if some of this is brand new, you're going to be like, what? You might want to listen to this a couple times, but this is really the deeper work that I do with people one-on-one. And I find it to be amazingly inspiring because of the ability we have to heal. And these are practices and techniques I've used in my own life. And I want to assure you that I feel freer now than I ever have. And I know there's much more healing to do. So the good news is that healing is possible. The good news is there are wonderful resources now that we didn't even have probably 20 years ago, because this is so much more understood and talked about in today's world. I think what's difficult is that sometimes the modern church is so afraid of anything that they can't point to definitively in the Bible, even though I have 6 verses over here I can point to. That there's sometimes fear or misunderstanding, or people say it's false doctrine, whatever all that is. But what I can assure you of is that you are a soul on a journey, that you have been here before, you will come here again. And the good news is we are here to heal and grow. We are here to, as I often say, grow, prosper, and evolve as a soul. We're here to move forward, to raise up into the higher beings that we are called to be. And this life on planet Earth is a grand play and opportunity for that. It is also an opportunity to be a blessing, to know God, to serve God. And as we know these places that need healing and heal, we can be a blessing to many, many more. So it's a wonderful opportunity to heal and to grow spiritually. So my friends, thank you for joining us. Thank you for walking the path with us, and knowing that you are a soul, and we're honored to support your journey. I thank you all for the gifts you have provided. I'm happy and honored to be of service to your soul. So my friends, we look forward to seeing you next week, and blessings on the journey.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Experience of the Soul with Cynthia Alice Anderson. If this message resonated with you, we invite you to share it with someone who might need it today. The show is made possible by listeners like you, and we're grateful for the community that keeps these conversations available for everyone. You can learn more or contribute to the show at cynthiaaliceanderson.com/donate. Produced by Kilgore Creative and a production of the Soulworks Group, Incorporated. Until next time, take good care.